For this week's Tableau Tip Tuesday, I'm going to give you some layout tips for creating long-form dashboards like this one that I created this week for Makeover Monday for the Next to Die project. So down here across the bottom, you'll see that I already have all of my visualizations already built. And if I go to the sorter view, you can see each of my visualizations. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to show you how I go about approaching laying these all out in a really long dashboard. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and create a new dashboard. And you'll notice that Tableau defaults it to 1000 wide by 800 high. So the first thing I'm going to do is I know I like mine to be 900 wide because they fit nicely in my blog. Now I'm not exactly sure how high my dashboard is going to be, but I know it's going to be more than 800, so let's just go ahead and set it to 1500 for now. So the first thing I would do when I build a dashboard is I go ahead and I set all of my dashboard defaults. So I'm going to go up to Dashboard and then choose Format. And for me, in this particular case, I'm using Lucida Sans for my font. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick that. And then I'm going to set that for my dashboard subtitles and also for my text objects. But I want my text objects to be 11 point. Okay, come back in here again. Okay, so now we've got something like that. So the first thing I'm going to do now is go ahead and show my title. So you'll see it defaults to the boring dashboard 3. So I've gone ahead and I've actually written down the title over here. So I'm just going to copy that, go into my dashboard, left alignment, and choose paste. So in this case, I don't want this subheader to be bold. I want that to be maybe 18 point is fine. But I want my title to be black, and maybe I want it to be about maybe 26 point or something like that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And then if you'll notice over here on my original, you'll see that I have these little icons arranged left to right up here. Those are just for decoration. So how do I get those on there? Well, I want those to be up here next to my title. So I can go ahead and put a container on there. But before I do that, I want to be able to control the objects as I put them in the dashboard. So I'm just going to stick a blank object in here, and I'll explain to you more why later. So to get my objects up here next to my title, I'm just going to go ahead and drag a horizontal container into the view, and then drag my title into that container, and then go ahead and put my text objects, which are these methods, next to that. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my title here, and then I'm going to set this to fit entire view. Okay, and you'll see it shrunk it down a little bit, but that's okay. I could just make it a little bit bigger until I get my title the size I need. Okay, so maybe my font here is a little bigger, a little too big, so let me switch that to maybe 24. Okay, so now if I look back over, I'll just show you the original. You'll see I've got my title and my things next to it. All right, that looks good. Well, you'll notice I have this little separator. I like using separator lines to divide up my dashboard. So to do that, I'm going to drag an image object into this container. And for me, I have all of these stored on my computer. So I'm going to go to my documents and then my Tableau repository. And you'll see I have a whole bunch of lines here. I created all of these in PowerPoint and then just saved them to my Tableau repository. You could save them anywhere, but I choose to save them here so I know where they are. So I'm just going to choose this horizontal line, thin gray. There we go, excellent. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to stick this text box in here that has all of this text in it. So to do that, I'm just going to drag a text box in, and I want to make sure it gets in the container. And then the text for this is this here. So I'm just going to drag that in. And for here, I want to make my number bold and make it orange. And then make it 73, make the 73% also bold and orange. Okay, great. All right, so the next thing that I want to do, if I flip back over here to my original, is I want to stick the map on there. And this is where it begins to get a little bit tricky. So I'm going to go ahead and find my map, which is these executions by state, and stick that in the container. And you'll notice it brought up my legend, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and float that because I want that to be next to the map. And what you'll notice here is that my map isn't quite sized the way I want. So this is why I have this blank object in here. So I'm going to click on my state view, and I'm just going to drag that down until I get it to be about the size that I want. So it's still not quite big enough. Okay, maybe that's good like that. All right, and then what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to drag it down here and cover up the little, I like to cover up the little copyright thing there so that it looks a little bit cleaner. But when I click out of this now, you'll see how I don't feel like I don't have enough space between the title of my map and my text box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my title, hit enter, and put a space in there, and hit OK. Okay, great. So that helps give me a little bit of space there. So one of the things you'll notice now is that when I click on the little drop down, it says fixed height. That's what I want, because when I put my next object in there, I don't want this to resize. So let me go ahead and scroll down here, and the next one that I want to put in is this little bubble chart thing. So that's executions by year. I'm going to drop that into the container. And then I'm going to go ahead and remove the sizes. I'm not worried about that, or all of my legends. Okay, and then I can maybe start to drag this one down a little bit as well and make it a little bit bigger. Okay, that looks pretty good. But you'll notice again, it looks like I need a little bit of extra space. It feels a little crowded, so I'll go into my title, hit and put a space in there. Okay, and then let me drag this down a little bit more. Okay. Again, when I click on the sheet, notice the little pin here. That means that the option of fixed height is chosen. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm starting a new section, so I'm going to stick another one of these lines in here. So I'm going to grab an image. I'm going to go ahead and pick my thin gray line, and good to go. Excellent. So the next section is all about lethal injection. So that's why I put a divider in there, because the next 3 sections are all about that. So the first one is my stacked bar chart. So let me go ahead and find my stacked bar chart, which is in here somewhere. So executions by, let's see, I think it's, which one is it here? The rise of lethal injection. Okay, so I'm going to stick that in there. And again, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to go ahead and float this object. All right. And I'm just going to bring that down here somewhere. All right, and again, I've got this blank object in here at the bottom, so that allows me to resize these to get them to the size that I like. So let me scroll down a little bit more. Okay, so maybe that's good. And then I can just arrange my legend somewhere in here. All right, I like that. So let's flip over here. Okay, that looks pretty good, looks pretty similar. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to put in these 2 sections for the types of executions and then the percent of total by execution type. Okay, so to do that, it looks like I'm starting to run out of space here. So what I could do is if I delete this object now, you'll notice everything stayed in its place. Well, that's because these are all set to fixed size. So again, notice I've got the little pin here. That means they're fixed. So what I can do now is I can maybe I'll make this 2000 now. And notice how none of my sheets are moving in size, but my floating objects are. So the benefit of making your charts fixed size is that if you need to adjust the height of your dashboard, it won't affect their current size. So maybe I'll make them 2000 for now, and then I can just drag this one back up. And then I'll have another floating object. You'll see it move down a little bit. So let's go ahead and move that around. So again, the floating objects are the biggest concerns here. So, again, notice how my map and my bubble chart and my stacked bar chart all stayed the same size. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to put these side by side. So to do that, I'm going to need to put a horizontal container inside of this other container. So when I do that, I now can put my oh, no, sorry, that's the wrong one. I want to do this sheet, which is executions by method. And then I want to put the percent of total next to that. Okay, I'm going to make them both fit entire view. Okay, that one already is. And then I can go ahead and kill this container again. The container that was holding those legends. Okay, So you'll see how these are all nice. These are really big now, so I don't really particularly like it that way. And I need to put another sheet in here, which is these states that face a scarcity. So what I want to do now is I want to find that sheet, which is, let's see, this one here. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Okay, I'm at the bottom. So methods of execution, I'm going to put that inside the container at the bottom. But notice how these resized because they're not in a fixed size. So as I drag this up, maybe I'll make it something like that. Okay, that looks pretty good now. What I want to do is, if I want to go ahead here and pick, since I'm happy with that size, I'm going to choose, oh wait, I'm sorry, I want to go to the, double click on it, and I want to set my container to a fixed height. Okay, so you'll see everything still looks good above it. I scroll down, and now this one, I'm just gonna, for now, I'll leave that like it is. So that looks okay. And maybe I'll come in here and I'll put a space in my first line to move that down a little bit to give me a little bit of room. Okay, so that gives me a little more breathing room. And I have one last section to create here, which is this kind of complicated section here. So this one takes a little more work. So the first thing we do is put my horizontal object in there. Again, I'm using that as a divider, so that's going to be my thin gray line. Okay, so now that didn't quite work the way I wanted to. And you'll notice this one resized. So what I'm going to do, actually that didn't resize, so that's okay. So let me take that back out. And what I want to do now is it looks like I'm going to need some type of container to put these side by side. So let's stick a horizontal container down in here. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to just drag this up a little bit. Okay, and I've got this horizontal container. And let's go ahead and make the whole dashboard bigger because obviously I don't have enough room. So let's go ahead and maybe make it like 2,500 in height. Okay, does that look pretty good? That's probably a little too big actually. So let me bring it down to maybe 2,200, something like that. Maybe, yeah, let's leave it like that for now. Okay, and again, I need to fix my floating objects, so let's just move that up a little bit. And then go up here to the other one, which is my executions by state, and move that one up as well. Okay, so I'm going to come back down to the bottom. And now I can go ahead and throw that image object in there because I have a place to put it. I'm going to put the horizontal thin gray line, and you'll see how it stays nice and small. That's what I was hoping for, and that's the benefit of putting this other container in here. So next I'm going to go ahead and make this container fixed height, and you'll see that kind of squished this one up. Well, why did that happen? So let's see. So let's go ahead and let's go up here. Okay, it doesn't look like anything's messed up, so we're good to go. Okay, so oops, actually I covered up my other object here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's build this next section here. So I'm going to flip back over and get executions by race, this kind of middle section, and then these executions by region, but I also have these lines. So let's go ahead and put executions by race in the view. We'll just leave it like that for now. I want to have my executions by regions over here. And again, I'm going to go ahead and remove this container because I don't need the legends. All right. And now what I want to do is I need this kind of middle section. So what I'm going to do here is this is going to be a little complicated because I have, it looks like I've got maybe a text box or something here. I've got these three charts, and then I have this bottom section. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to stick another image in here. And this is going to be my vertical gray line. So let me find my vertical gray thin line. Okay, and then for now, I'm going to stick it looks like a a vertical container in there. And then I'm going to stick another image object over here. So this will be my vertical gray thin line. There we go. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to make this smaller for sure. So let's maybe make it like that. Oops, so let's undo that. Grab this one and let's resize this. Okay, and let's check the width of this. So let's edit the width, and it's 255. Maybe I want to make it 275, And then I could do the same thing on this one. So let's edit the width and make it 275. Okay, so now both of those are the same size, and I have this little space in the middle. Okay, so to build that other section, the first thing I'm going to do is I've got some complicated things in here. So let's go ahead and stick, let's just stick one of the pie charts in here for now. And then below that, I'm going to want my counties with no executions. All right. And then I'm going to want to go ahead and stick a horizontal line in there. So let's stick a line in. And let's make that a horizontal thin gray line. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's stick another text box up here above it. And this looks like it says the 5% national death penalty. The 5% national death penalty. And it looks like we need to make that bold. And yeah, let's leave it like that for now. Okay, so it looks like these aren't quite sized right. So let me go ahead. Oh, it's because I have another box here. So let's go ahead and get rid of that container. Okay, so now I have I've got this here, and then I've got what I want to do now is I need to actually lay these out side by side. You see how those kind of go left to right. So to do that, I'm going to stick a horizontal container inside of this vertical container. And I'm going to move this into that. I'm going to stick my performed guy in there next to it, and then stick the % of all executions next to that. Okay, and again, that brings up my legends. Go ahead and kill that. All right, so now I can scroll all the way down to the bottom. I want to make all of these fit entire view, and fit entire view. Okay, so it's not quite right. So it looks like what I need to do is I probably need to resize these a little bit. Let's go ahead and edit the width. Let's make them 250. And let's make this one 250 as well. Okay, so we're getting there, but you kind of get the idea. Maybe let's edit the width again, make it 225. And then let's make this one 225. Okay, close enough for now. I can maybe resize this ever so slightly and resize that ever so slightly. Okay, there we go. That looks pretty good. So now everything's laid out nice and neat. Now the last thing that I want to do is I want to put my attributions down here. So I'm going to just drag another image object all the way at the bottom. I'm going to put a horizontal thin gray line. All right. So again, you notice how that actually it didn't come in nice and small like the other ones did. So let me go ahead and take that back out and start over. So maybe I should build this bottom section first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a horizontal container below this. Actually, let me go ahead and go here, double click my container. Okay, and that is fixed height. Okay, good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a horizontal container in the bottom, and I'm going to put an image object in here. And this is going to be my Twitter signature, which I always like to just kind of keep in there. And then the last thing is I'm going to put a text object in, and I'm going to right align that. I'm going to say source is the death penalty information center. Always give the source when you can. Hit OK. All right, so now I can just drag this down and make that kind of small. Okay, so that didn't work. You notice how that didn't work. So this is where sometimes you have to play around with it. So I'm gonna let me make the container fixed height, and then I'm just gonna adjust the height. Maybe let's make it 50. Okay, so again, that didn't make it small enough, so let's make it maybe 20. Okay, and again, you see how you have to keep playing around with it until you get it kind of the size you want. So last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick that image out, that extra horizontal thin gray line in there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and grab this. Hopefully, let's edit the height and make it 5. Okay, let's undo the pin there and see what happens. All right, so now I can just drag it down. That might be the easiest thing to do. So you'll see that some of my objects are getting messed up here. So again, you know, it takes some playing around with. Let me edit the, oops. So let's go ahead and drag this over. Maybe there's a little trick here. All right, and then I can just grab the top of this one and drag it down. Let's try that. Okay, so you'll see how something is getting messed up here. All of my objects are getting squished around. So it looks like my attribution section is causing me some headaches here. So I'm just going to continue to undo until I get it somewhere near where I was hoping for. Let me redo. Okay, and let's make this fit center image. Okay, so good enough. And you'll notice how everything is still laid out nice and neat. So the biggest thing I wanted you guys to learn this week is go ahead and use this option under the little triangle called fixed height, and that'll go ahead and as you make your dashboard grow, it'll keep the objects from it'll retain the size of the objects that as you put them in there. So hopefully you found that helpful. A little bit long-winded, sorry about that. But anyway, have a great day.